Welcome to another episode of the Influential Nonprofit. As usual, I'm your host, Maryanne. I help nonprofit leaders master the art of influence so they can ask for and receive all they want and need without feeling rejected, ineffective, or pushy. I teach you how to ask for what you want, mainly money, in a way that's easy, aligned, authentic, and builds long-term loyal communities of support. And that's what we're going to focus in on today, my friends, is how we build these long-term loyal communities of support, and just in time, because we're going through some pretty chaotic times right now in our government. Lots of changes and transitions, lots of insecurity, instability, and having long-term loyal people by your side is key to your organization's success and your own success and your own ability to lead. And anytime I look at a situation, at sharing content, I look at it from an organizational perspective and first an external perspective, like how I relate to donors and audiences, and then how I relate organizationally to my team, my board, all the people close to me, and then also myself. And sometimes we forget that. We forget that we are important in this. And in fact, we're the key. You are the key, because no one is going to be more committed than you. No one is going to be more invested than you. And you set the temperature. So your ability to navigate yourself can affect your ability to navigate others and to build the community of support that you want and create a place where you are allowed to thrive no matter what is going on. 5 years ago today, we were on the precipice of a very, very chaotic time. We got through those. I promise you we will get through these, but we're going to do it together, and I'm going to show you how to do that. What is the problem that we have? And the problem that we have is that I just did this workshop yesterday, and I asked people what the problem was in having long-term loyal supporters. A lot of it was they don't know how to engage people. They're running out of things to talk about. And the board, lots of board problems. That I'll do another podcast on that. Lots of board issues and things like that. The other couple of other issues were around getting donors to have a sense of urgency or to give when you need them to give. There was a lot of things about keeping people engaged throughout the donor life cycle process. And so we're going to talk about what that looks like, why people are connected to your cause and why they're not, and how to find the right people. Now, I always start this by saying, I don't have a magic wand. There is not one simple tool, trick, script, tagline, brochure that is going to replace the deliberate work of relationship building. There is no quick fix for that. There's no magic wand, silver bullet, nothing. This is about the day-to-day, in and out work of relationship building. This is about devoting your time and energy to building relationships and how to focus on the people who are really going to be with you and let the people who aren't go. And a lot of times it's hard for us to tell. I was talking with this woman the other day, and she's like, she does LGBTQ advocacy. It's like, I just want everybody to see what I see. I'm like, I totally get that. And also, clear to me. We have to think about it as, circles. We want to go to the people closest and then keep moving out and moving out and moving out. And that's truly how we build movements. We can't think about getting everybody all at once or having to convince every single person that we interact with. And if we don't, there's a problem. So here's what we're no longer going to do. Pitch, push, convince, control, make a case. I need to pitch this donor. I want to make a case. Yes, you have a case statement. Yes, you have a case for giving. Those are very important, but they are not more important than listening and understanding the needs of your donors. The next thing is your case statement in your marketing is not to convince somebody to care or get somebody to do something, because you can't really do that. Because the more you try to push people, the more they push back. The more you try to get somebody to do something, the more they will push back. So the less likely you want somebody to do something, the more you make it their choice, the more likely they are going to do it. I know that seems crazy, but it's absolutely true. And you can probably call on this in your own experience. If somebody says, whatever you decide is totally okay, or whatever you want to do about this, it's fine. And you're like, oh, gee, well, what do I want to do about this? What do I want to say about this? And then you can kind of go from there. I'm sitting so we don't push, control, or convince, because when we do, people get defensive, and when they get defensive, they go into fight or flight mode, and their ability to receive new information is vastly limited. So if we want somebody to do, or at least consider what we have to say, it is key that they say open, accessible, comfortable, and in control of the experience.
And the last thing is
fish,
really
push, make a case.
Decision-making fatigue.
This whole process that I'm going to share with you is rooted in listening and loving and getting to know somebody for who they truly are. And this is the model I call the philanthropic heart. And the philanthropic heart model is by adopting this model and the practices of it. This is your ability to keep long-term loyal donors, the kind that will be with you no matter what. No matter what happens to your government funding, no matter what happens to your programs,
not alone.
They are invested in you and they're with you. And I'm going to share with you why that is and how you can attract more of these people to your organization. Now, this podcast is going to be in 2 parts because this is a lot of content. I'm basing this off a webinar that I just did that I wanted to share this information as part of my podcast. But I don't like to make them too long. So this is going to be in 2 parts. The first part is I'm going to explain to you what a philanthropic heart is and help understand what the aspects of a philanthropic heart relationship is. And then the second part, I'm going to share with you exactly how to implement that, the steps to start adopting this model within your fundraising.
Data or facts.
So let me just tell you what the philanthropic heart is not. It is not transactional. It is not about getting money from people, no matter what. It's not about making friends with wealthy people because they have money. That's not what this is about. I just had a comment the other day from a guy who said, my workplace is really transactional. That is going to be tough. I mean, because this is a cultural mindset shift away from the transactional type of fundraising we used to do, which is if I call somebody enough, they'll eventually acquiesce and do what I want. If I push hard enough, I'll get what I want back. And that may work in the short term, and it doesn't work in the long term, and it doesn't build long-term loyal communities of support. Remember, my friend Amy Fazio taught me people come for the cause, they stay for the community. We're here to build communities of support. People come for the cause, okay? They come for a reason, and we're going to talk about what reason that is, but the reason is not because you pushed them into it. And trust me, if I had some magic formula where you just the right combinations of words to move somebody to action, I would do that. But I do not. Hence, I have the philanthropic heart. So let's get into what it is. The philanthropic heart is it's 3 basic things. Here we go. It's based in a person's lived experience. So your messaging, your marketing is not about convincing somebody to care. Put that thought aside. You no longer have to convince people to care. That is not your job. That is not the role of your communications and your outreach. Your communications and outreach is to find people who share your philanthropic heart, who have the same values and vision of the world. But it's not because of your marketing. It's because of their lived experience. Their formative years, these formative experiences, then they care about one cause over another. Now, this could be they have a formative experience. Like, so my origin story is like I was a later in life child. I have siblings that are a lot older than me. They were all born very close together, and a lot of years later, and you surprise, there's me, and that wired me in a very specific way. And that way is that I developed a deep sense of empathy for those who are left out and left behind. Consequently, my kids are adopted out of foster care. I would say my family was formed through foster care. I adopt and foster. I fostered my husband and I, my family, we fostered 250 dogs over the last 25 years. So if you're left out or left behind, I like organizations. I'm also a bit of a rebel. And I like organizations that are kind of startups and they're challenging the status quo. That appeals to me. And so when I see organizations that reflect my identity, I am attracted to them. So the messaging from that organization is not, hey, you should be this, you should want to shake up the system, you should want to rescue things. It's if you want to change the system, if you think about it's 8 degrees outside, when it would snow when I was a kid and people say, oh, isn't it so beautiful? And I would think, God, I hope there's no animals outside tonight. And that's truly like how my heart is. So if like that is what I'm saying is that's in my heart. So I am looking for organizations that reflect my values that I can see myself in. It's different than saying, hey, you're like this, you should be like this. And that is kind of what our marketing has been doing for people. Hey, if you don't care about this, you should. But in the philanthropic heart model, you don't have to be different. You can be who you are and be attracted to what you are. what makes marketing and fundraising really, really hard for us is that we want to change people. We want people to care about something they don't care about. We want people to change how people are hardwired, their values and their vision for the world. And that doesn't work. So instead of that, we are going to use our communication to connect to the people who share our philanthropic heart. That is the most basic way I can say it. Stop trying to connect with people who aren't going to care and start being bold in your vision and your message to attract those like-minded people to you. No, everybody can hold what they want in their heart and keep it in their heart. And you can love them for who they are, even if they're not the right fit for your organization.
But it also comes because our brains are machines, right? And most of our brain is our subconscious, which is auto-programmed. And the reason that your intuition is so strong is because you've experienced things before and you have a knowing, and you can trust that knowing. My knowing is that I had been in rooms and rooms and rooms before this, and I just knew what the issue was because my intuition was so good at discerning. Now my intuition is my single greatest asset, and how I absolutely use the greatest asset I use to guide my business. Listen, after every single podcast, I invite you into a conversation with me. I can tell when somebody pops on the screen in my Zoom within 3 seconds if I want to work with that person or not. I just know. And then I spend the next 30 minutes validating what my intuition, my intellect can validate what my intuition already told me from the beginning. As soon as somebody pops on my screen, I have an instant connection. And I have a knowing. Why? Because I've done these calls, because I've met millions of people, maybe millions, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. I know because I understand. I can read energy like that. I know because I practice it and I pay attention to it and I value it. And that knowing part of us that we're taught to disregard because there's no facts, it negates the experience and the power of our brains. Now, I call it a divine download because I do feel like my intuition is like my higher self, or that divine self, or maybe, if you are a person of faith, that could be, a God, your God to you. For me, it's like the divine download, that knowing wise part of me, that sovereign queen giving me the download. And even though I know that it actually comes from the experience of my brain and of having and just having a brain that is constantly experiencing things and cataloging them and telling me right away, hey, this is your person. This is your person. And I'm going to tell you, I am so good at right now. And I can tell right away if I want to work with somebody or not. And it's not like they come on the screen, I'm like, oh my God, you're great. Let's work together. I go, oh my gosh, this is great. I'm feeling the intuition. Also, now when I do calls, again, at the end of this, I'll invite you into conversation. If you're interested in exploring and learning more about this, or exploring working with me, we can talk about that. I tell people it's almost like a psychic reading, because I know what's going on. I have this deep sense of knowing. Now, part of what I do is a lot of listening and validating, because as you know, right, if you follow anything I do, I teach people to have conversations rooted in listening. So my listening is really about so that I can understand, and then what I'm telling you, I'm listening and I'm validating, and the wisdom is just flowing into me. I know what's going on. I had a call yesterday with this guy, and he works for another company. He works for a fundraising company. And he said, I have somebody that I want you to meet right away. And he said she is an executive director, she's a founder, and she is really running out of gas. And she's very charismatic. And how he described her, I knew exactly who he was talking about. I could exactly tap into her. And I said, yep. And she makes magic, and she always gets it done. So everybody around her relaxes. And so her board's not engaged because they know she'll come through at the end. Everybody trusts her too much. And it's making her and it's wearing her down. He's like, oh my God, exactly. How'd you know? I said, how do I know? Is because I know this person, because I know, because I met and talked with so many people, and my brain just has that knowing. And that, my friends, is your intuition. Those thoughts that come to you during the board meeting, during the donor meeting, like this is going to be great. Or the thoughts are like, whoa, I'm not feeling this. I'm not getting this connection. That is your intuition. And we're going to learn how to pay attention to it so that you can harness this power. So before I move on, I want to quickly restate our instinct is fast and it's loud and it comes from fear. Our intellect, those are insights that we gain from thinking about things over time. Our intuition is also fast, but it's clear and it's confident. And that is the voice that comes to us. That is your intuition. You can also get good at, I got good at feeling intuition in my body. Like I literally get chills. I get goosebumps when it's the right thing for me. Instinct, you often feel in your body, like your throat, tightens, or your heart races. That's telling me your instinct, right? I can feel that fear in my body. My intuition is typically that, like, I feel a swell, I feel a burst, I feel like something really flowing over me. And that's just because I've gotten really good at reading the signals of my intuition. But typically, remember, your instinct is based in fear. Your intellect is based in rational thought over time. Your intuition is also quick, but it's clear and it's quiet, confident thought. Okay, let's get into how to harness the power of your intuition. Well, of course, if you know me, you know first lesson in how to build your inner confidence and strengthen your decision-making skills is to let go of the result. If there's one thing I could help you do, is letting go of the outcome, because that's what keeps us bound. We're afraid to say something because we're afraid to upset someone. We're afraid to say the wrong thing. So we sit in this like bubble of fear, afraid to really step into our power. So the first thing is, we have to let go of the result. You don't have to, you can choose to let go of the result and say, here's what I'm going to say. They're going to receive it the way they want or not. Here's the idea I have. They're going to like it or not. And I'm going to say it because I'm just going to let go. It took a big, deep breath in that foundation meeting for me to and just let go and say, here's what I'm seeing, or asking the question, show me more about this because I have some thoughts and I'd like to hear yours. To say, I'm not sure I like the direction this is going. I had a call today and we were talking about the nonprofits, of how we're all so kind people, and we sit in a room and we're like, that's great, because we don't want to upset anyone. And then we walk out of the room and all of a sudden, like, did you hear that? Did you say that? Because we're sitting there afraid to really speak our truth. So confident decision, your inner confidence and your decision making is based on you speaking the truth. And in order to do that, we release the outcome, let go of the result, because nothing good happens. Not nothing good. When you act out of fear, you create more fear. So by releasing the fear, that's the first step. The second step is really clarifying your core values. Confident decisions stem from an alignment with your personal and your organizational values. So I'm gonna take you back to that foundation room. I know from my experience, and that good marketing has value to the target audience. Pretty simple, right? And that what I was seeing was not a value to the target audience. That was an alignment of my personal and professional goals. I could see where they were out of alignment, but I saw the alignment that I wanted them to get into more alignment, right? So, but that was in alignment with my personal and professional goals. So once I understand, like, what are my professional, what do I value? What is important to me? When I do my Up Level Your Influence course in week 2, in module 2, we do belief. What do we believe? Belief statements. And we categorize our belief statements. First, we categorize, we define how we want to show up for other people. It's called a brand promise. And then our brand promise. And then the second thing is we create belief statements. Here's who we are and here's what we believe. And the reason why these are so important is because these are things that are known to you, that are sort of floating around. We put them all onto paper. We say, here's what I stand for. Here's what I'm about. And when you do that, then you understand what your values are, and you can understand that you can make the confident decisions come from the alignment of those values. Right? And when you see something out of alignment, it's not just that it's almost an obligation to say it. It's almost that's you being called, like we talk about thought leadership and leadership. That's what thought leadership is. Right? I see something that is in like this is in line with my values, my personal and organizational values. You're almost compelled to share it. And that makes you a very, very powerful leader. Whether people buy into it or not is not the point. The point is that you're willing to stand in your organizational values and speak on behalf of them. Okay. Number 2, recognize your past successes. I am sure you have been a very strong decision maker in the past, and it has paid off for you. You wouldn't be here where you are right now if you had not. So one of my coaches, Dr. Aaron, he talks about facts and feelings, right? There's facts and feelings. The feeling is I'm not a very good decision maker, or I'm not sure I'm going to say the right thing, or I don't know what to do. The fact is that you are a good decision maker. If you had to go in front of a judge and make a case for you being a good decision maker, here's all the evidence. You could have that evidence. So just make sure that you understand and recognize those past successes when you have been a decision maker. So for me, it was looking back at all those meetings where I didn't say anything at the beginning, or I didn't ask what I really wanted to ask because I didn't want to upset people. Or whatever, break rapport. I wasn't really even going to upset anybody. Anyway, let me stop beating myself about something I was doing 10 years ago. That I could look and see, I knew it every time. I knew it every time. I'm going to tell you something. I was so good at recognizing, especially good creative ideas that would come up in the room. So I do these, sorry, why can't I think of words for things today? Anyway, I facilitate discovery sessions where it's sort of a very, very structured brainstorm. And a lot of really ideas would come up, and we would hear an idea, and like Karen, my boss, and she was like my boss and creative partner, we would hear it like almost right away. Sometimes we'd be sitting in a meeting, just in an introductory meeting, and she would write down something, and we would have an idea sitting there. I remember this one time, and it was an organization called Camp for All Kids, but they were coming into this, and this woman was just chatting with me, and she was like, I'm so glad you're here because this is way more than camp. And I was like, okay. And I put, whoa. And I knew that was the winner. And of course, I spent the next 2 hours brainstorming, listening and absorbing everything. But in the end, it's way more than camp. I could hear the good idea almost immediately. Now, they weren't ready for me to say. It wasn't like people walked into the brainstorm and I was like, oh, we got our good idea, everybody can go. I go, that's probably the winner. And then I let my intellect take over because I wanted to bring them along in my thinking with me. They weren't ready to come into that thinking, but I know because my intuition was like, that's the winner. Okay. So, but because I knew I could look back at all those times where I could pick the winner, where I could almost, where I was a very confident decision maker, and I know you are too. So giving yourself credit for that, understanding that your intuition has really been working for you all along, you just weren't really perceiving it that way. The fourth thing is, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, to separate intuition, instinct, intellect, and intuition. They are 3 very, very valid forms of decision making, but they're very different. And you want to make sure that you are coming through your intuition and that you understand what that feels like and what that sounds like. The divine download, that wise, knowing, calm voice that's coming at you, that's telling you this is right, this is wrong, do this, don't do that. It's usually very directive. Okay. Also, cut yourself a break. Most decisions aren't final. Most of the things that I wanted to say in those meetings wouldn't have made a lick of difference of whether we got this business or not. I'm pretty sure. Unless I would have said something super crazy and egregious, which I would not do. But I could have, most of what I could say, if I could have either backed up or moved them around or whatever. My point is, give yourself permission to pivot, give yourself permission to refine and adjust as you go. It's a decision. It's not, most decisions aren't forever, right? Most decisions aren't forever. The last thing I want to say is give yourself a confidence ritual. And I think this is so important because, as you know, I believe that energy speaks louder than words, and how you show up and the energy that you project says a lot more than what you say. Before making a big decision, engage in a practice that grounds you. That could be journaling, deep breathing, a visualization, something that helps you sort of clear your mind to allow the access and flow. Before I do a call, a strategy session that people book with me, um, I I do really spend about a minute of just clearing my mind and really focusing on that person and giving them value. Whoever they are, whoever's going to come through, I'm here to give them value first and foremost, no matter what. And that just allows me to take it off myself, because you can't be nervous when you're in service, right? So if my job is to be of value to an organization, of value to a board, of value to a cause, a mission, a condition, it's not about me and my fears. It's not about me and my insecurities. It's about showing up fully for somebody else, regardless of whatever's going to happen to me. And 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 so I do have some different sort of rituals before I do a speaking engagement. Get off to the side, if possible, and give myself just 5 minutes of grounding myself in my content, sending love to the participants and love back. So, really focusing on finding my inner confidence and my inner strength. If you're going into a tense board meeting, if you are, going to meet with a big donor, and it's a big thing, it's even 30 seconds can really adjust it and help you tap into your intuition. Your intuition comes in the quiet moments. That's why you get good ideas in the car and in the shower, because those tend to be repetitive things and you're letting your mind go. And that's where your ideas can really come through. And think about, like, how will this feel in 10 minutes, 10 months, 10 years, right? Um, it most of the time, whatever the decisions that you make, it won't matter in 10 months. There's really they may feel weighty to us, but once we get started to doing them, they really aren't. And again, you can always pivot, right? So release the outcome, clarify your values, recognize and give yourself credit for your past successes, get good at separating instinct from intellect and intuition. All three are very, very valid in getting information to make decisions, but they are different. Okay. And then trust that you can refine and change as you go. Um, and find some sort of confidence ritual, some way to tap into that sovereign queen that I know you are, right? For a while, I had a bracelet that was a big crown that I would wear, and really just as a visible reminder to tap into my sovereignty. Like, literally physically, I would hold on to it, and to help me remember I'm the sovereign, I'm the queen, right? I'm the one who decides. I'm the benevolent ruler of my body, my space, my life, my business. I say who comes and goes, I say. And it helps me tap into that. I hope you have learned how to trust your intuition. Again, we have been taught, like, oh, you need data and facts, and to disregard our intuition when it is truly our brain doing its best work, right? It's all of our experiences, all of our emotions just working for us with that divine download that's coming through. Trust it, believe in it. If you need to back it up with some data, you can do that later. Don't disregard it. The more your intuition is a muscle, right? It's a practice. The more you practice listening, the more you practice using it, the more you practice speaking your truth to it, the better you'll get at it, the more powerful you'll be, the more you'll get done, the more people will respect you, the more confident you'll be. I'm telling you, it's the ticket forward. Okay, that's it for this episode of Me and the Influential Nonprofit. If you want to connect with me to talk more about your intuition or how you can be a more powerful leader, I am happy to talk to you. You can actually see firsthand my crazy intuition in action. It is sort of like a psychic reading sometimes. It is really cool for me to do it because I meet people. I don't know you. I really don't know anything about you. And I actually don't like to do a lot of research beforehand because I do like to receive people like as they are and as they come to me. I feel like research just gives me using that intellect too soon does not really support the work. What I like to do is let my intuition tell me, guide me, and then my intellect back it up. But my intuition already knows. Anyway, if you want to book a call with me, please do. The link is in the show notes, and I'll see you next time on the Influential Nonprofit.